There are things no one wants to hear. Because they sting, because they strip away our illusions, because they leave us with nowhere to hide. But those very truths, the ones we avoid the most, are the ones that can set us free. Truth isn't always gentle, but it is always liberating. And the more you resist it, the longer you stay stuck in old cycles, procrastinating, justifying, repeating the same mistakes under new names. This video isn't for those seeking comfort. It's for those who are tired of living the wrong way. It's for the men who feel like they're running but going nowhere. For the ones who ask, why do I know I need to change yet still don't? The answer lies right here, in 9 brutal but necessary truths. If you're looking for a mental reset, a path back to self-respect and personal clarity, then watch this until the end. And if any of these truths hit home, share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss content that pushes you to live with strength and purpose. Now let's begin with the first truth, and maybe the hardest one to accept. 1. No one is coming to save you. There's a quiet lie many people carry with them for years, sometimes their whole life. It sounds like this. One day, someone will show up. Someone will notice my potential. Someone will help me escape this mess I'm in. Maybe it's a mentor, maybe a partner, maybe a miracle opportunity that will finally unlock the life you were meant for. My friend Mike believed this for over a decade. Every time we talked, he had a new idea, a new dream, each one waiting for the right investor, the right moment, or the right support system. But the years passed. The dreams didn't. Not because he lacked vision or talent, but because he was waiting. And what he didn't realize was that waiting is the slowest form of self-destruction. It feels safe. It feels patient, but really it's permission to delay action, to avoid discomfort, to outsource responsibility for your own life. Here's the uncomfortable truth. No one is coming to save you. There is no cavalry. There is no perfect timing. There is no scene in the movie where someone storms in and makes everything better without you lifting a finger. Life doesn't hand over freedom. You have to earn it, brick by brick, through disciplined action and uncomfortable honesty. Stoic philosophy makes this brutally clear. Epictetus wrote that freedom begins the moment we recognize what belongs to us and what doesn't. And waiting for rescue is an illusion. It belongs to fantasy. What belongs to you, what always belongs to you, is your will, your energy, your next step. The problem is, many of us were raised in a culture that romanticizes breakthrough moments. We're told to hang in there until a lucky break arrives. Movies feed us the story of the underdog who gets discovered, the lost soul who's redeemed by love, the person stuck in misery until fate decides they've suffered enough. But real life isn't scripted. There is no backstage crew ready to hand you your breakthrough. There is only you, right now, with whatever you have, wherever you are. That's where all change starts. The moment you internalize this truth, everything shifts. Yes, it stings. Yes, it might feel lonely at first. But beneath that discomfort lies real power. Because if no one is coming, then you are the one you've been waiting for. You don't have to ask for permission. You don't have to wait for validation. You don't have to keep postponing the life you know you're capable of building. It starts with claiming your role, not as the victim of your circumstances, but as the author of your transformation. Because the more you wait, the more you remain passive. And the more passive you are, the less life responds to you. The world doesn't move for those who hesitate. It moves for those who show they're serious. So the question becomes, where in your life are you still waiting? Waiting to feel ready? Waiting for someone else to make the first move? Waiting for everything to line up perfectly before you take that uncomfortable step? The reality is, nothing will ever align perfectly. But movement creates momentum. Action creates clarity. Your freedom, emotional, mental, financial, is not handed down from above. It is forged from within, through consistent decisions made when no one is watching. This is how you reclaim power. Not by hoping, not by fantasizing, but by deciding that today is the day you stop waiting. Today is the day you become the one who saves yourself. Because when you choose that, you don't just shift your circumstances. You reshape your identity. You become the very person you thought you needed all along. And that is where real transformation begins. 2. Life doesn't care about your feelings, only your actions. The world is not watching your emotions. It doesn't pause when you feel overwhelmed or offer shortcuts when you're tired or discouraged. Life doesn't reward you because you're stressed or because you really want things to change. It rewards what you do consistently, especially when it's hard. I was reminded of this a few mornings ago when I bumped into my neighbor, Larry. He's in his 60s, retired, and yet every day, rain or shine, he's out walking at 5 a.m. I asked him once how he stays so disciplined. He looked at me and said, "I don't wait to feel motivated. I just put on my shoes and stepped out the door. That's it, not a fancy secret. Just action without emotional permission." And that's the truth most people miss. We've been sold the idea that feelings must lead, that we need to feel ready before we move, that we should wait for inspiration to strike before we act, that discomfort means we're on the wrong path. But that's not how reality works. Your feelings matter, yes, but they're signals, not commands. Feeling tired doesn't mean you stop. Feeling afraid doesn't mean you avoid. Feeling uninspired doesn't mean you give up. The law of cause and effect still applies, whether you're sad or joyful, anxious or excited. Life listens to what you do, not what you feel. Marcus Aurelius said it best. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That's not just a quote, it's a principle. The obstacle, the emotional fog, the resistance, that is the very place where growth begins. It's not about denying emotions or pretending you don't feel what you feel. It's about not letting those emotions dictate your behavior. The modern world amplifies the message of self-expression, but often in a way that encourages indulgence rather than mastery. We're told to honor our feelings, but rarely taught to discipline them. And without discipline, feelings become excuses. You know how this plays out. You wake up feeling low, so you skip the workout. You're anxious about failing, so you avoid starting. You don't feel inspired, so you put off the work again. One day becomes a week becomes a pattern. And suddenly you look around and wonder why nothing in your life is changing. The answer is simple. You've trained yourself to act only when it feels good. But meaningful change requires doing what's needed, especially when you don't feel like it. This is the power of Stoic emotional discipline. It doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means separating your actions from your emotional weather. You show up not because you feel like it, but because it aligns with who you want to become. Each time you override emotional resistance and follow through anyway, you strengthen self-trust. You prove to yourself that you're not a slave to mood swings or mental noise. That proof builds confidence. That confidence builds identity. And identity is what shapes your life. So ask yourself, where are you waiting for the right feeling before you move? Is it starting that business, setting that boundary, rebuilding your health, or simply showing up for something you said you'd do? What if today you acted without needing to feel perfect first? What if you treated emotions like background music, not like steering wheels? Because the truth is, life doesn't wait for your mood to improve. It responds to effort. It mirrors your discipline. It moves when you move. And when you choose to act through discomfort, you train yourself to lead your emotions, not follow them. That's what builds unshakable strength. Not motivation, not mood, but consistent, courageous, deliberate action. And that's exactly what life respects. 3. You're not exhausted. You're just distracted. Most people say they're tired, but what they really mean is they're mentally scattered. It's not that they're overworked. It's that their attention is bleeding out in 100 directions. I remember my younger cousin once told me, "I've been busy all day, but it feels like I've accomplished nothing." So I asked him to walk me through his routine. Turns out he'd spent hours toggling between emails, TikTok, news updates, and half-written to-do lists. He wasn't burned out from doing too much. He was drained from doing too little that truly mattered. This is one of the quietest traps in modern life. We confuse stimulation with productivity. We fill our days with activity, but starve our lives of achievement. We touch everything, but complete nothing. The result? A lingering sense of fatigue, but not the good kind. The kind that comes from flow or meaningful effort. It's a foggy tiredness that stems from constant interruption, from living reactively instead of deliberately. You don't feel grounded because your focus never lands. You don't feel clear because your mind is constantly switching lanes. The Stoics understood this long before smartphones existed. They taught the value of simplicity, of choosing to focus only on what is necessary. Do only what needs to be done, they said. Not more, not less, and certainly not everything at once. This kind of focus requires a form of quiet strength, a strength most people never develop because they mistake busyness for purpose. But busyness without clarity is just a clever form of avoidance. It keeps you moving just fast enough to avoid stillness. And in that stillness, you might have to confront the truth that most of your energy is going toward maintaining distraction, not building a meaningful life. We live in a world that profits from your distraction. Every app, notification, and endless scroll is designed to pull your focus and keep it there. And the more fragmented your attention becomes, the less resilient your mind feels. That's why you can sit on the couch all day and still feel exhausted. You weren't doing hard labor. You were engaged in constant low-level stimulation that never let your mind rest or settle into anything deep. You were multitasking your way into mental depletion. But here's the shift. You don't need more energy. You need better attention. You don't need to push harder. You need to pull back from the noise. Instead of asking, "Why am I so tired?" ask, "What am I constantly giving my attention to that gives nothing back?" Are you consuming more than you're creating? Are you jumping from task to task without completing anything with focus? Are you reacting to life rather than shaping it? This is why emotional grounding habits and mental stillness techniques matter. They help you reclaim your cognitive space and reset your nervous system. You start to feel calm, not because life slowed down, but because you did. You became intentional. You created a structure where chaos used to live. And that shift alone will restore more energy than any energy drink or nap ever could. Because when your attention aligns with your values, energy flows naturally. It doesn't leak, it doesn't fray, it fuels. So the next time you feel drained, don't assume you're working too hard. First, look at how you're living. Are your days filled with purposeful effort or just digital noise? Are your mornings spent in focused calm or reactive scrolling? Because exhaustion isn't always a sign to stop. Sometimes it's a signal to simplify. Cut the distractions. Focus on one clear goal. Pour your energy there. That's how you stop feeling tired, not by slowing down, but by narrowing in. Your focus is your fuel. Guard it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. 4. Growth requires discomfort. There's a quiet illusion that ruins progress before it begins. The belief that change should feel good. That growth should come with clarity, confidence, and convenience. But real growth is almost never comfortable. It's awkward, it's painful, and it often starts with failure. I remember my first few days at the gym. I could barely lift the lightest weights. I felt embarrassed, exposed, like everyone around me was silently judging. But something happened in that discomfort. Instead of turning away, I came back. I showed up the next day, and the next. 3 months later, I was lifting double. Not because I found the right routine, but because I stayed with the pain long enough for it to become powerful. This is the paradox most people never accept. If it feels hard, it usually means you're doing something that matters. Discomfort is the gateway to your next level. The reason it hurts is that it's stretching you. It's not there to punish you. It's there to shape you. Epictetus said it best. Difficulties show a person who they are. Because in the struggle, in the resistance, your real character is revealed. The voice in your head that wants to quit, avoid, delay, that's the part of you that wants life to stay easy. But the part that keeps showing up anyway, that's who you really are becoming. Yet modern life teaches the opposite. Everything around you screams convenience, quick results, instant relief, one-click happiness. And so we begin to assume that if something is difficult, it must be wrong. If the conversation is tense, we avoid it. If the dream requires risk, we delay it. If the habit is boring, we abandon it. And then we wonder why we feel stuck. Why do we feel small? Why does the life we say we want never seem to move closer? The answer is simple. You're choosing comfort in the short term and trading away fulfillment in the long term. Discomfort doesn't mean danger. It means you're alive in the work of transformation. It means you're touching the edges of your current identity and asking it to grow. This could be physical, like running your first mile or waking up early. It could be emotional, like finally saying what you need to say or walking away from something that's draining you. It could be mental, like learning something that challenges your old beliefs or sitting in silence with your own thoughts. But no matter the form, the rule is the same. If you want to become something more, you have to be willing to feel something different. And the truth is, the discomfort doesn't last. The soreness fades, the fear passes, the awkwardness becomes skill. But the regret of never starting, that lingers. The shame of giving up too soon, that stays. Most people aren't haunted by what they tried and failed. They're haunted by what they never even dared. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't seek pain for the sake of it, but they knew that every obstacle was an invitation. The obstacle becomes the way, Marcus Aurelius wrote. Not around the obstacle, not after the obstacle, through it. So the question isn't, how can I avoid discomfort? The real question is, what is this discomfort trying to teach me? Is it asking for more patience, more courage, more consistency? Instead of running from it, lean into it. Because growth isn't found in the easy path. It's carved out of friction, repetition, and choosing the hard thing on purpose. And the more you do, the stronger you become. Not just in body or skill, but in spirit. That's the real win. The kind that doesn't come overnight. The kind that stays. 5. You will outgrow people and places. One of the most difficult parts of personal growth is realizing that not everyone can come with you. A close friend of mine, someone I once worked with and shared nearly everything with, slowly became a stranger to me. Not through betrayal, not through anger, but through distance that grew as I began to change. We'd sit down and try to talk like we used to, but every conversation felt heavier, more strained, as if we were both reaching for something that was no longer there. I wasn't better than him. I wasn't trying to leave anyone behind. I had simply changed, and the space between who I was and who I was becoming had grown too wide to ignore. That's the hidden truth about self-development. When you grow internally, it begins to show up externally. The way you think changes. The things you tolerate shift. The conversations you once enjoyed start to feel small. What used to energize you now leaves you feeling drained. And while this can feel disorienting, it's not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something is working. Outgrowing people and places is not arrogance. It's a natural byproduct of becoming more aligned with your deeper self. Yet many people resist this truth. They stay in old friendships, old environments, old roles, not because they're happy, but because they feel guilty for leaving. They confuse loyalty with self-sacrifice. They tell themselves, I owe it to them, or this is who I've always been, as if changing would be a betrayal. But the greater betrayal is abandoning your own evolution. Because every time you shrink yourself to stay the same, every time you pretend you're not growing to avoid making others uncomfortable, you pay the price in silence. You rob yourself of the peace that comes from living authentically. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, observe constantly that all things take place by change. To resist change is to suffer. The Stoics understood that nothing stays fixed. Not people, not seasons, not you. Fighting that reality doesn't preserve relationships. It corrupts them. When you hold on to someone or something that no longer aligns with your values, resentment starts to build. Not because you hate them, but because you're betraying yourself. You start compromising your time, your energy, and eventually your identity. We often romanticize the past because it's familiar. Letting go feels like giving up, but in truth, honoring the season means recognizing when it's over. Some people are in your life to walk with you for a chapter, not the whole story. Some places were meant to serve a purpose and then fade. And when you accept that, you stop clinging. You stop dragging expired energy into a future that's calling for your full attention. You don't owe your future to your past. You owe it to the person you're becoming. This isn't about discarding people carelessly. It's about knowing when something no longer fits and having the courage to release it with respect. You can love someone deeply and still walk away. You can be grateful for a place and still move forward. Growth doesn't mean burning bridges. It means building new ones in directions that matter more now. And when you do, you make space. Space for new connections that match your growth. Space for environments that feed your emotional clarity, not drain it. space for peace, purpose, and real alignment. So ask yourself, where in your life are you still holding on out of habit, not meaning? Are there relationships you're keeping alive only out of guilt? Are you staying in environments that no longer nourish you? If so, recognize this. Letting go is not a failure. It's a choice to honor your evolution. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stop forcing the old version of you to survive where you no longer belong. 6. Boundaries are the foundation of peace. My uncle, a quiet and generous man in his 50s, once told me, the thing that strained me the most in life wasn't work. It was not knowing how to say no. He wasn't bitter. He didn't speak with anger. He just looked tired. Not the kind of tired sleep can fix, but the kind that builds up over years of putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own. It wasn't that he disliked people. He just realized that somewhere along the way, he stopped living according to his own values. And when you do that long enough, your inner peace starts to erode. This is what most people get wrong about boundaries. They think boundaries are about conflict, about pushing people away, about being difficult. But that's not it. Real boundaries are not walls. They're doors. They don't close you off from the world. They help you decide what to let in and what to keep out. They allow peace to exist because they give your energy a protected space to rest. Without boundaries, you're not living. You're reacting. You're constantly pulled into other people's demands, expectations, and emotions. And you wake up one day not knowing what you actually want because you've spent years becoming what others needed. Peace doesn't come from silence or solitude alone. It comes from clarity. It comes from living in alignment with your own needs and values. That clarity begins when you define your limits, when you say, this is where I end and the world begins. When you stop saying yes just to avoid disappointing someone. When you stop answering emails at midnight because you're afraid of seeming uncommitted. When you stop entertaining conversations that leave you feeling small, anxious, or drained. These aren't acts of rebellion, they're acts of self-respect. Epictetus once taught that we should live in harmony with nature. But that doesn't mean yielding to every demand or absorbing every energy that crosses your path. It means knowing your nature, protecting it, and structuring your life accordingly. In a world that celebrates over-availability and praises those who always show up, choosing to protect your space can feel selfish. But it's not. It's necessary. Because when you abandon your own well-being in the name of being nice, you don't serve others. You slowly lose yourself. Think about your own life. How many times have you said yes when your whole body wanted to say no? How often have you stretched yourself thin just to keep the peace? The irony is that peace doesn't come from avoiding tension. It comes from having the courage to create tension in the service of something more honest. You don't owe everyone your time. You don't owe everyone your energy. You owe yourself alignment. And when you begin to honor that, the people who truly value you will understand. The ones who don't were never aligned with your growth to begin with. Boundaries aren't about controlling others. They're about controlling yourself, your time, your energy, your focus. You can't make someone respect you, but you can choose not to remain in spaces where respect is consistently absent. You can't force someone to listen, but you can stop speaking where you're not heard. That choice, that responsibility, is yours. And the moment you start choosing it, your life begins to shift. Peace returns. Clarity sharpens. You stop feeling like a passenger in your own story and start leading it again. So ask yourself, where in your life are your boundaries blurred? Where are you overextending, over-apologizing, over-compromising? And what would it look like to draw a clean, quiet line, not to push others away, but to pull your peace back in? Because the truth is, peace doesn't arrive on its own, it's built. And boundaries are the structure that holds it in place. 7. You become what you repeatedly do. There was a time when I labeled myself as someone who lacked discipline. I would sign up for the gym and stop going after a week. I'd make a reading goal and forget about it after 2 days. I blamed it on motivation, on timing, even on bad luck. But one morning, something shifted. I told myself I'd just read 5 pages. That's it. 5 pages a day, no pressure. And I did it. Then I did it the next day. 3 months later, I had finished more books than in the last 3 years combined. I wasn't waiting for discipline anymore, I was building it. This is where most people get stuck. They think self-improvement happens in dramatic moments of clarity, that one big realization will change their life. But life doesn't change in lightning strikes. It changes in the quiet repetition of small choices. You don't become stronger by thinking about strength. You become stronger by doing the reps. You don't become calmer by wishing away anxiety. You build emotional resilience by showing up for your routines even when your mind resists. What you repeat is who you become. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You become what you think about, and you act according to what you repeat." Stoicism isn't about grand ideals, it's about consistent action. It teaches us that identity is not fixed, it is forged. Every day your habits vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Every repeated act, whether conscious or unconscious, reinforces a self. And that's the hard truth most ignore. You're not lazy. You're just running on habits that were formed in the absence of clarity. You're not undisciplined. You've just been disciplined about the wrong things. Take an honest look at your routines. The things you do without thinking, scrolling before sunrise, saying yes when you mean no, procrastinating on the project that matters. These aren't random behaviors. They are rituals. And rituals shape reality. You don't break them by force. You replace them with something aligned, something intentional. That's why Stoicism doesn't ask, "What do you want to become?" It asks, "What are you doing now?" Again and again. Because repetition is not just a behavior, it's a mirror. It reflects what you value. Even if you say otherwise. You might say health matters, but if you skip movement every day, your body hears a different story. You might say peace matters, but if you begin and end every day in chaos, your mind adapts to noise. In the end, your life bends toward what you repeat, not what you intend. So the next time you feel stuck or lost, don't search for a breakthrough. Search for a pattern. Ask yourself, what is one small thing I can do every day that reinforces the future I want? Then make it so small that excuses can't survive. 5 pages, 10 minutes. 1 deep breath before reacting. These acts may seem insignificant, but they are seeds, and seeds repeated with care turn into forests. If you want a better life, don't look for a better plan. Look for better habits. Because identity is not something you chase, it's something you sculpt. And the chisel is in your hands every single day. So stop asking, who do I want to be? And start observing, what am I doing now, again and again? The answer will tell you everything you need to know. 8. Most people don't care, and that's your freedom. I still remember the first time I spoke in front of a crowd. My hands trembled, my heart pounded, and sweat soaked through the back of my shirt. In my mind, I thought I looked ridiculous, like a nervous wreck. I was certain that everyone could see through me. But after the speech, a man walked up, smiled, and said, "That part about discipline was good. I wasn't paying attention to much else." In that moment, something shifted. I realized that while I had been drowning in self-consciousness, most people were too busy swimming in their own. This is the truth we often forget. People don't think about us as much as we think they do. They're consumed by their own problems, their own fears, their own to-do lists. The fear of judgment is one of the most powerful chains we wear. And yet, the judgment we fear is usually imagined. It's the product of an ego that thinks it's always on stage, always under a spotlight. But reality is far more liberating. Most people are too distracted by their own insecurities to analyze yours. Stoic philosophy teaches us to guard our inner life. Master your mind, it says, because you cannot master the minds of others. We spend so much energy worrying about opinions we'll never hear, reactions that don't matter, and thoughts we can't control. And in doing so, we hand over our freedom. We silence ourselves before the world even gets the chance to listen. We shrink before we're even seen. We censor our creativity, our courage, and our voice because of a fear that no one is actually paying that much attention to. How many dreams have been delayed because someone feared they'd be cringe? How many ideas were buried because someone imagined laughter in the background? People stop writing, stop sharing, stop living freely because they're haunted by a crowd that's not even watching. It's a quiet tragedy. But once you accept this truth, most people are wrapped up in their own story. You begin to write your own more honestly. If you always behave as though someone is watching, you live performatively. You edit your actions, dilute your truth, and trade authenticity for approval. But when you internalize the Stoic idea that people are not as focused on you as you think, you find permission to live unfiltered. You start to realize that freedom isn't found in applause or validation, it's found in letting go of the need for it. The absence of scrutiny isn't emptiness, it's space. Space to breathe, to try, to fail, to grow. This doesn't mean that you stop caring about your impact. It means you stop overestimating your visibility. It means that the shame you feel when you misstep, the anxiety you feel when you speak, the hesitation before you create, those are not reflections of how others see you, but of how tightly you're gripping your ego. And once you loosen that grip, you can move with more clarity, more courage, more presence. There is deep power in becoming indifferent to invisible judgments. When you finally grasp that nobody is dissecting your every move, you stop being a prisoner of perception. You wrote that post. You wear what you like. You leave that toxic room. You say what needs to be said. Not because you don't care, but because you understand that freedom means acting in alignment with yourself, not the illusions you've projected onto others. So here's your release. Most people don't care. And that's not a curse, it's your liberation. Use it. Let it lighten your steps, let it fuel your truth. Let it remind you that your life is too short to be lived under imaginary surveillance. 9. Overthinking is self-sabotage. A close friend of mine, Dave, once spent nearly 2 years debating whether he should leave his job. Every time we talked, he was still thinking it through. He'd weigh the pros and cons, reanalyze every potential outcome, and convince himself to wait a little longer. Meanwhile, another coworker with half his credentials took the leap, made a few early mistakes, started over, and is now leading the very team Dave was too afraid to join. The lesson? Thinking alone won't move your life forward. It can often become the perfect disguise for fear. And if you let it, overthinking will wrap you in a cocoon of safety so tight it smothers your progress. Most people confuse overthinking with intelligence, but analysis without action is just mental self-sabotage. You're not planning, you're stalling. You're not preparing, you're hiding behind the illusion of control. You might think you're being wise by waiting until you're sure, but often that moment never comes. Life rewards movement, not mental rehearsal. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, stop debating what it means to be good, just be good. Stoic philosophy doesn't honor perfection. It honors clarity through motion. And that clarity doesn't appear before you act. It reveals itself during the act, shaped by real feedback, not hypothetical fears. What's dangerous about overthinking is that it wears the mask of responsibility. You feel like you're being careful when in reality, you're avoiding the discomfort of risk. You justify your inaction with thoughts like, it's not the right time or I just need more information, when deep down, you fear making the wrong move. But perfection is a myth, and waiting for the perfect plan is a clever excuse to never start. You don't need to know everything. You only need to know the next right thing and then do it. Every overthinker I've met had one thing in common: a strong desire to avoid pain. They want to escape regret, embarrassment, or failure. But what they don't see is that in avoiding all that, they invite a quieter tragedy, a life lived on pause. You become so focused on predicting outcomes that you never create them. You build entire narratives in your head, play out worst-case scenarios, then exhaust your energy on thoughts that never manifest. Overthinking doesn't make you wise, it makes you stuck. Real wisdom isn't about knowing what's right, it's about being willing to test, adjust, and grow through the doing. Most breakthroughs don't come from thinking harder, they come from trying something and realizing what works. That's the Stoic approach. Face the discomfort, accept the unknown, move anyway. Action gives you data, data gives you clarity. Clarity gives you power, but you cannot skip the first step. You cannot think your way into a new life, you must walk into it. So the next time you catch yourself spiraling in thought, ask, am I gaining insight or just avoiding action? Am I strategizing or simply delaying because it's safer to think than to fail? If all your thinking isn't followed by action, it's just fear in disguise. You don't need more time, you need more courage. You don't need certainty, you need the strength to begin without it. Life favors the bold, not the overcautious. And the only way to grow is by doing, even if it's messy, even if it's awkward, even if you don't have it all figured out, because the path only appears to those who walk, not to those who stand still and plan the journey forever. The enemy of clarity isn't confusion, it's hesitation. Don't let your mind become the jailer of your own potential. Open the gate, step out, do the thing, let clarity meet you in motion. In the end, the truth is not always easy to hear, but it's what sets you free. These 9 harsh lessons aren't meant to discourage you, they exist to wake you up. Because once you stop chasing approval, resisting discomfort, and overthinking every step, you begin to reclaim your power. You become grounded, not just in mind, but in identity. And that's where real emotional resilience begins. Remember, you don't rewire your mindset by waiting for life to feel easier. You do it by choosing discipline over distraction, by letting go of what drains you, and by building daily Stoic habits that protect your clarity and peace. Inner strength doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from how you respond when they're not. Now it's your turn. Which of these truths hit hardest for you? Share your story in the comments. Let others see they're not alone in the fight to grow. And if this message helped you refocus, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more on how to build unshakable emotional control, one grounded action at a time. The truth may be uncomfortable, but it's the only path that leads to freedom. Walk it with courage.